Welcome everyone to our third webinar in the fall series. Today's content will focus on the course catalyst, transforming teaching with Copilot. My name is Celeste Roan. I'm an adoption and change management consultant with Microsoft, and I've been working with a team that you might see on today's call, Karen and Jason and Mario Bravo, who will also help address some questions, but have been also working behind the scenes to make Copilot available for the staff, the faculty, and graduate students across the university today. So today we've brought to you a third installation of a training series. We're going to cover in today's session an introduction to Microsoft 365 Copilot. We want to make sure that everybody starts off with the same general understanding. And then we'll go into an activity where you can personalize your Copilot experience with memory. And then we'll go into 3 demos that will follow a couple different use cases. So we'll start with building accessible lesson plans in syllabi with Copilot. We'll continue to develop interactive presentations and assessments, and then create an exam question agent together using the agent builder in your Teams or in your Copilot experience. And then we will utilize the last 15 minutes for Q&A. So if you notice at the top of your Teams window here, you've got the camera, you've got the mic, and then you should also have some options for the Q&A and the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation today, go ahead and put those in the Q&A. And myself or some of my colleagues on the call today will address those questions. Actually, all right, let's jump into the presentation then. So I mentioned that this is the third installation of this Copilot training series. The first one we had on October 9th was around data search. So we covered Copilot and the analyst agent and in Excel. The second installation or the second course we had was around insights to impact. So this is for Copilot for research and administration. We also reviewed the researcher agent as well in this course. And you can find all of these recordings on the IT website. There's a Copilot page where you can find all of these recordings. So if you missed any of these sessions, feel free to review those, and I can see if I can get a link that we can put in the chat for everyone to access those recordings. All right. So let's get into Microsoft 365 Copilot. So I want to start off by setting the expectations, but also grounding us in the same understanding of what Copilot is. Copilot is your AI-powered productivity assistant that is integrated across your Microsoft 365 applications that you use day to day. So that means that Copilot will essentially follow you where you work throughout M365. So I'll show you in just a moment where you can access Copilot chat on the web. You can access it through Teams, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and even Outlook. Now, what makes this M365 Copilot so powerful? It's the fact that it has access to your documents and the chats and the information that you have saved across the M365 ecosystem. And so when you ask Copilot a question, it will give you a response that is based in the language model itself, but then also the content of the documents, the emails, and the chats that you have through Teams, and even recorded meeting invites or recorded meetings in Teams as well. We call that grounded. So it's grounded in the information on the language model, but then also in your own information, which provides that personal experience as well. Now that's great that it has access to all of your content across your M365 documents in the cloud, but is it secure? Yes. So Microsoft 365 Copilot does follow the same security boundaries as the rest of your application. So if you have a document that you have saved on your OneDrive and you're the only one that has access to that, if someone else asks Copilot a question and the answer is found in that document, Copilot is not going to give them a response based off of that document. So it follows the same security, compliance, and privacy policies as well. And the language models that are used behind Copilot are never trained off of your data or off of the prompts that you're using as well. Now, I do want to emphasize the fact that Copilot is your AI-powered productivity assistant. And so you'll see us use different prompts today to create different content. And this is going to give us a great start or help provide inspiration. Now, it is upon us to continue to validate that that information is correct and to continue to work and iterate with Copilot to continue to get a final deliverable or a final product that is in line with something that we would like or be proud of to represent. So that responsibility ultimately is on us. Now, how do you access Copilot? So I mentioned before that you can access it on the web, but you can also access it through your team. So you can pin it to the left if you add it as an application here. You can also access it across your M365 applications as well. Anytime you see this Copilot icon here, this colorful image icon, that's going to indicate that that's where you access Copilot. And you'll see me reference it several times throughout today's training. Now, in addition to that, I do want to emphasize the fact that there are a couple different versions of Copilot that are available. Today's training will focus on the licensed version, which means that it has access to your documents and the information that you have across the M365 ecosystem. The quickest way to validate that you are using the licensed version of Copilot is to look at wherever you're accessing Copilot and make sure that you have both the work and the web tab available here. If you don't have these two options at the top, then you do not have the licensed version. So it's important that you follow the university's opt-in process, and you just follow this link here. Let's see if I can copy it or get maybe Mario to drop that link in the chat for everyone. But if you follow that link there, then you'll have an opportunity to opt in for Microsoft 365. And that'll give you access to the licensed version. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into Copilot. And we're going to complete an activity together. This one is going to be focused around personalizing your Copilot experience. So I'm going to go to Copilot chat, and if you would follow along with me. This is the prompt that we're going to use. Give me a second just to find the chat so I can drop this prompt in the window for you all. There it goes. All right, so the prompt that we're going to use today is simply ask me 3 questions to learn more about my writing style. And you're going to utilize this in Copilot chat. So I'm going to open up my Copilot chat. I'm going to choose to use it in the browser here for the majority of the demo. I'm going to make sure that I have the work toggle selected here. And I'm going to go ahead and paste my prompt here. So it's going to ask me 3 questions to learn more about my writing style. And so this is where the personalization comes in. This is where you'll want to provide your own working style or provide your own preferences that Copilot can work with. So just for this example, you can answer the questions here or put your own preferences. Here I'm going to put that I prefer bullet points, typically in a casual tone, since I interact directly with customers, avoid using emojis, and I prefer plain language. Once I hit submit, Copilot is going to give me this response. Thanks for sharing. Here's a quick summary. And I'm going to be explicitly clear here. And I'm going to say, yes, please remember my writing style. And once you are clear, you give Copilot a clear statement like memory updated. I'm sorry, once you give it a clear statement like remember something. Now, this doesn't have to be your writing style. This could also be a project that you're working on or the type of work that you do. Anytime you say that, you'll see this icon for memory updated. And Copilot will give you a similar response to this. got it, saved whatever preferences you'd like. If you ever want to review or manage these preferences or your memories here, you can hover over that icon and select the Manage Memories. And you can see all of the different statements that I've told Copilot to remember about me. It also will remember your work profile too, so it may understand who your manager is or your skip level for the context of your job profile. But this memory can always be updated. Now it's completely up to you how much or how little you want to use this, but it does provide that more personalized experience. So as you continue to prompt or ask questions with Copilot, it's going to remember what you typically work on or what your preferences are. And so the responses that you get are going to be that much more enhanced or that much more personalized. All right. So let's continue into prompting. So this is one piece of personalization that's going to help your experience with Copilot. The second is going to be the way that you prompt or the way that you submit statements or ask questions to Copilot. So we like to call this the art of prompting. And all this is just a reminder to provide Copilot with clear instructions so that it gives you the most appropriate response to your question. So here we're saying a goal, always be clear about what response you would like to get from Copilot. The context, why do you need it and who is involved, is going to help Copilot provide a more relevant response. And the source, where do you want Copilot to go for this information? While it does have access to all of your documents and your emails and your recorded meetings across the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, if you want it to focus on a specific folder or a file to give you that response, you need to be clear and tell Copilot to do so. And then you have to be clear as well about the expectation. So how should Copilot respond to meet your expectations? That means, are you looking for a paragraph? Are you looking for a longer report? Are you looking for a table? Are you looking for a document? Copilot can provide you with a number of different ways and responses and formats. But if you're clear about what you're looking for, if you know it, if not, then you don't have to necessarily be clear. Copilot can help guide you or give you some options. But it's going to help you have that better experience if you are continuously clear with Copilot. So 4 things that make a good prompt: again, the goal, the context, the source, and the expectations. Now, I'll tell you guys just a quick example. I was working with a customer last week, and somebody was telling me that they were having some problems with Copilot because they were asking it to go through a folder and search for specific keywords. And the folder was full of resumes, but they were looking for a specific skill. So we'll say, for example, this skill was coding. And so instead of telling Copilot, I'm looking for a professional with experience in coding, the prompt that they were using was, search through this folder for CVs that include the word coding, right? So it's an old way of searching that we're used to, where they were looking for a keyword and they weren't providing the actual context. Now, Copilot's going to work better if you give it that full context of, I'm looking for a professional with this experience. It's going to give you a richer response than saying just search for this specific keyword or search for a document with this word. So it's just a slightly different way of thinking and working with Copilot in that sense. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. So the first place that I'm going to start is in the Agent Researcher. So you're going to access that through going through Copilot. Now, again, I'm using Copilot here on the web, but it will work very similarly wherever you are using Copilot in Teams. As long as you see these options on the left here, you'll have your search, you'll have your chat, and then you'll have your agents. Now, the researcher agent is a reasoning-based agent assistant. It's designed to tackle complex, multi-step research tasks. It combines OpenAI's deep research model with Copilot's advanced orchestration and deep search capabilities. So when you're working with the researcher agent, the main difference between this and using the Copilot chat or even using the Copilot chat with GPT-5 is the fact that this is developed specifically for research. It's also going to give you a longer response in the form of a report. So if you're looking for something more detailed with several references, then you're going to want to use Researcher. But if you're looking for something where you just want a quick response and more of a conversational tone or interaction, then you would probably want to use chat with GPT-5. All right. So in this case, the researcher, because it does use that reasoning agent, it is going to take a little bit longer than your typical Copilot chat. So if you use a prompt here, you can expect to maybe wait maybe 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the topic or the question that you ask the researcher agent. Now it's going to give you a couple different ideas. So it's always going to give you some prompt ideas. So you can see it can give you a variety of project updates, topic reports, customer briefs, and more. But in this case, we're going to focus on building lesson plans and syllabi. So I've already submitted this prompt just so that we can save on the time today. But I'll show you what the prompt was in the response that we got with Copilot and how we can work with it. So in this case, I asked Copilot or the researcher agent to help me prepare coursework for a graduate level seminar on artificial intelligence ethics. It's going to typically ask you a follow-up question just to make sure that it can focus the response a little bit more. So in this case, it asked me what's the intended structure or format? Are there any specific themes or subtopics? Do you want research to include recent controversies, legal frameworks, etc.? And these follow-up questions are going to be specific to the topic or the prompt that you submitted here. And it's again, just providing additional context for Copilot to provide a response. Now, in this case, I just went for an interdisciplinary approach. And you can see here, Copilot, or the researcher agent here, went through several different rounds of reasoning to get to the report. So when you're waiting those 5 to 10 minutes, Copilot is going to show you as it works what it's doing. So these are the steps that the researcher agent went through. And then this is the response here. So you can see this is significantly longer and a completely different format than what you would typically get from just using the Copilot chat. Now, another addition that you have here is that you have inline citations. So you can see directly where the researcher agent pulled this information from. In this example, it actually pulled from a document that I already had, but it also pulled from different web sources as well. So you can continue to ask researcher questions here, or I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom here. You have a couple different ways that you can work with it. As long as I can get here. So you'll have your full list of sources. So these are all of the places where the researcher agent pulled the information from. You have the option to open this and have it copied directly into Word. You can copy and paste this here and put it wherever you'd like, whether this is a PowerPoint or even a OneNote where you're compiling your research. You can always give Copilot and the researcher agent feedback here, whether you like it or dislike it. And then it will also read aloud the content of the report here. Now, here's one that I often do is I open it in Word. And then you can save this and revise it as needed. All right, so it's already showcasing here that we have this saved to my documents. And you can continue to work here, revise it here, or you can work with Copilot to continue to summarize or understand this information here. So we'll just go ahead and just give you an example of a couple different ways you can interact with the content in Word. Now this capability and all the capabilities I'm going to showcase right now in Word are available both online and in the desktop versions of Word. So we're going to have Copilot go through and suggest a list of action items from this file. In just a matter of moments, it's gone through and it's provided us a list of action items. Now, this is a very similar experience to the Copilot chat that we were using in the web, where you have a response, it's got its sources, and then you can also either add this directly to the bottom of your content, or you can copy and paste here. Now, an additional note here is that you always have a summary at the top of your document. This is another indicator that you're using Copilot here, and it's just going to give you a quick summary, some insights, some suggested Q&A, and even some discussion if there's been comments or conversations, and some activity if there's been any revisions or anyone contributing to this document. So these are a couple newer features that are now available in Copilot in Word. Now, for the sake of the demonstration today, I do want to showcase a couple different capabilities here. So now that we've done our research and we've got some information on this artificial intelligent ethics, let's see if we can create a syllabus for a graduate level seminar on these topics with weekly topics, required readings, and assessment methods. So I'm going to copy and paste this prompt. I'm going to access again my Copilot chat. And I will go ahead and submit my prompt here. Now, because I'm generating new content, I'm going to use the Copilot chat. If I was revising any of the content already in the Word document itself, I would either select this draft with Copilot icon, or I would highlight the content here and select it here with different options on how Copilot can help revise the content within the document. Right. So now we've got a syllabus that is based off of the research that we completed in the researcher agent. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the bottom of my document here. So I'm first going to get to the bottom here. And once I'm at the bottom, I should be able to highlight this plus sign icon, and that will add it directly to the document. Perfect. And you can see I've got my research and I've got my syllabi now. So it's got the course overview and then a variety of weekly topics. Now, I do want to make this accessible, so I can do things like translate this to Spanish. So let's give that a shot with a quick prompt. So we're going to translate this syllabus into Spanish. And Copilot can translate not just to Spanish, but a variety of different languages. So we'll see Copilot continue the translation. And the notes here. And we'll just ask Copilot, how many languages can you translate? And it should give us a variety of languages that Copilot can work with. So you can see Copilot can translate between more than 100 languages. And so you just have to submit the one that you're looking for in particular to make this more accessible to anybody else that maybe has a different first language as well. Now, if you're looking for additional accessibility tips, you can just ask Copilot. How can I make this document more accessible? And Copilot will give you a couple different ideas. Right? So it's giving you some ideas on clear headings and structure, readable fonts, good color contrast, etc. Now, this is a good reminder that Copilot is your assistant, and it's not necessarily going to go ahead and take action for you. So while it will provide these recommendations, it's up to you to go ahead and action these. Now, what you can do is ask Copilot for different ideas on clearer headings or a clearer structure, but it's up to the person working on the document to go ahead and complete those actions itself. So that's kind of where Copilot stops and where you start to work. All right. So with this being said, we've got our document now, we've got our research compiled in one place and our syllabi. Let's see if we can make this into a different format or make this a little bit more presentable. And to do that, we're going to open up PowerPoint and create a presentation from this Word document that we used. So I'm going to go back to my apps here. And again, I'm just working in the applications on the web just because it's a little bit of a smoother experience for the demo, but the same Copilot capabilities work in the desktop application as well. So I'm going to select a blank presentation. Now, I'm not going to use a template for this example, but if you did want to start with a template, you have that option. You can select one here, or if the university has uploaded the university templates with the look and the feel and the fonts that you use, if you start with that template there, then the Copilot will utilize that same look and feel throughout the presentation whenever you work and draft with Copilot in PowerPoint. In this case, I'm just going to start from a blank presentation. All right, and I'm going to create a presentation with a file here. So again, you're going to want to access this Copilot icon anywhere where you see those stars, or this Copilot colorful icon will take you to Copilot. Since I want to draft a presentation, I'm going to select this one here in the center and create a new presentation with the file. What this is going to do is bring me to my narrative builder. So this is where I submit my prompt. So here in this case, I'm going to develop a presentation. We're going to create a 6-slide, or let's not be specific about the slide. Let's just create a presentation introducing a different topic. So in this case, I'm going to use the topic of behavioral economics and decision science concepts for graduate students. Now, this is a very general prompt. You can be a lot more specific about any additional subtopics that you want to include, the audience, and you can also include specific documents. So in this case, I'm going to utilize some lecture notes that I have on behavioral economics and decision science. Now, you're not limited to just one document here. You can use a Word document, you can use a PDF document, and you can also use an Excel document as well. So in this case, we'll go ahead and submit. And this is going to take us to that narrative builder, which helps us build the story of our presentation. So this is where I typically get a lot of value from Copilot because it allows me to organize my thoughts based off of a large document or a lot of content and kind of focus in on what are some of the key aspects of that. So it already went ahead and organized the sections of the presentation. You have the ability to move these around. So you can reorder topics, you can remove topics, and you can even add topics. And if you have a topic and you want to include an additional file or a different additional reference, you have the opportunity to do so again. And this is going to pull directly from your documents that are in the cloud as well. So in this case, I think I have a good general story of the presentation, the story that I want to tell. So I'll go ahead and generate my slides here. And I'll just take a couple moments to build the presentation for us. All right, I see a question in the chat. Will it also create a poster presentation? This is just going to create a PowerPoint presentation, but if you are using the create capability in the Copilot chat, that might be better to help you create a poster. All right, so Copilot is showing us its work here. So it's already given us a visual of what the different slides will look like. And it's almost there. All right, and now we've got our presentation. So again, Copilot helped me build the story. It helped include the content that I'm looking for, that I wanted to include. Now it's up to me to go through and, revise and adjust the presentation to meet my needs. Now, one new capability of Copilot is that you can actually add specific slides to your content. So wherever you are in the presentation, at the top in your home screen, you'll have this box with a couple stars here. This will give you the option to add an additional slide. So instead of going back to the entire narrative builder and starting over to build a new presentation, you can just add in a specific slide. And again, you can reference a specific file or document to provide the context for that slide as well. All right. Now, again, throughout the presentation, you also have the ability to revise the content. So if you select the content that you have in your presentation or any slide here, you can always use Copilot to rewrite it. It'll do an auto rewrite. You can give it additional context on what you want to specifically change about it. You can make it shorter, make it more professional, or even make it into a list if it's not already a list as well. So a couple different ways that you can use Copilot to refine the presentation. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and transition into creating an agent. So if you go back to your Copilot chat here, you'll have a couple different options. So where we were before was the Copilot chat. We've already gone through and tested out the researcher agent, but now what we're going to want to do is create our own agent. So to do so, you'll just select this create agent. And this is going to help you build your own kind of focused Copilot chat, if you will. So agents are purpose-built, meaning that you're going to build them for a specific reason. And you're also going to be able to dictate where they pull the information from to give you a response, where the information is grounded, if you will, and the type of prompts that you would want to use with this agent. So essentially, it's just a chat window, but it will also help you focus the responses a little bit better for your agent. So you have a couple different things to look at here. You can either describe what you want your agent to do in natural language, or you can configure. Now there's several different templates and several different agents that Microsoft has already built that you can utilize. So if you select this view all templates, it'll give you a couple different ideas of agents that have already been built. So in this example, we're going to build a test exam question builder. So if I were going to build this, I might want to look at either an interview question assistant template or even a quiz tutor assistant. You can read the description here, and then you have the ability to configure it. So in this window here, this is the agent preview. So it's going to show you what this looks like, what the quiz tutor has been built right out of the box that Microsoft built. But you have the opportunity to configure and customize this to meet your needs. So if you select this configure toggle here, you can rename it, you can give it a different description, you can use the instructions that it has or even revise these, but it gives you a place to start. So the instructions are important because this tells the agent exactly what it's supposed to do and why. You can give it as much context as you'd like. The knowledge, this is where it's actually going to ground your responses. So you can upload files, you can use SharePoint, Teams, or even Outlook emails here. You can tell Copilot or the agent to only use the specific sources that you're providing or be open. And then now it can also create documents, charts, and code. So if you want this agent to not just give you a response, if you want it to be able to give you a response in a Word document or a PowerPoint document, then you would want to select this toggle here. And then you want to designate the suggested prompts here. So what type of questions or statements would you work with in the agent? And then as you're building this, it's going to update here on the right. So I'm going to pull up a window here and show you the one that I've already built here. And this is our test question generator agent. So you can see what you can do with this agent is you can build a full practice test. So you can generate 20 questions from any lecture notes or documents that you have. It can be technical questions, multiple choice questions, essay questions, and even situational questions. And let me show you how I built this exactly. So I'll go to the edit. All right, so just like before, you can see that I used the configure here. I gave it a description, said I want this agent to be an interactive study assistant designed to help learners prepare for exams by creating customized practice tests from their own lecture notes. Now, I wanted the agent to be able to analyze lecture notes and extract key concepts to generate the questions. I gave it some clear instructions on the type of questions that I wanted it to work with. I gave it some instructions around the tone. And then I wanted it to be able to give me feedback on what topics were mastered and what areas needed improvement as well. And then you can give it some general guidelines where it starts by asking for the lecture notes if not provided, how many questions should be generated, what type of template or format, and then how it would go and continue the interaction between the person prompting the agent here. Now, in this case, because I wanted the user to be able to submit their lecture notes, there's not going to be any specified knowledge sources. And then I gave it 6 different prompts that we could choose from in the agent here. So once you've completed your configuration, provided your description and how you want your agent to work, if there's any updates or if you want to publish it, you would select this button here. And then we can give it a try. Now, the default is that your agent will be private. If you do want to share it with someone, you'll have to select the share button. And it's important to understand that you'll have to share with someone that is licensed, that has a Copilot licensed version. So they have to have the Copilot with that work and that web toggle available. And you'll have to specifically identify who they are, add their email, and share the link with them as well. Once you do both of those things and they are a licensed user, then they'll be able to use this agent that you created as well. Or you can create it just for you. So let's go back to our agent here. Now, the reason that I created this was there's a couple different applications that I could see potentially for the individuals on the call today, is that you could either create your own exams, you could update or upload your lecture notes or some of your previous exams, and you could ask it questions or ask it to generate new exams or new ways to present the information. Or if you're studying for an exam, then you can also upload similar things like lecture notes or course materials, and it will be able to give you your own quiz on that information. So I'll show you what this looks like here. I'm going to ask Copilot to give me a full practice test here. And let's go back and use our topic from our previous presentation. I think this was behavioral science. Right, and so just like we had designated, we wanted Copilot to provide us or tell us to upload our lecture notes. So I'm going to go ahead and upload my lecture notes. And here we are. All right. So now it's giving us a 20-question practice test, and it's going to ask the question one at a time. And once you provide a response, then it will go to the next one. You can even have the option to skip to the next question. And you can see that the questions that it's asking are relevant to the topic and the source that we provided as well here too. Just a couple different ideas on how you can build personalized agents and continue to use Copilot. So that concludes the prepared content that we had today. So I wanted to go ahead and make sure that we had some time for everybody to ask questions. So we'll go ahead and open up the Q&A at this point. So this session will also be recorded and we'll upload it to the site that we have shared as well. But thanks everybody for joining today and thanks for your participation.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.